Welcome back to the SimTech podcast, the show where we shine a light on the world of clinical simulation and the people who bring it to life. In this episode, we're kicking off a brand new mini-series all about human factors, what they are, why they matter, and how they impact everything from clinical performance to patient safety. To start this series, I'm joined by Des and Anne, two experienced professionals who bring a wealth of knowledge and insight to the topic. Together we'll explore the foundations of human factors, bust a few myths, and begin to unpack how they influence the way we work, communicate, and train in healthcare. Whether you're a technician, educator, or clinician, or you're just curious about what really goes on behind the scenes in healthcare systems, this is a conversation you won't want to miss. Hello and welcome back to the SimTech podcast. I'm your host Craig, and today we're going to be starting a mini-series all about human factors. We're going to be discovering what it is, why it matters in clinical simulation, and how we can use this knowledge to design better training and safer systems. And to help us get started, I'm joined by two fantastic guests. I've brought Des and Anne, who are both experts in simulation and passionate advocates for applying human factors in practice. Together we're going to explore what human factors is today and how it shows up in simulation. So, guys, would you like to introduce yourself?
Morning, Craig. How's it going?
I'm going well. Yeah, it's nice to see you. Did you have a nice holiday?
I did have a nice holiday actually. Yeah, got my mother riding a camel. You know. Since we're talking about human factors, why don't we start there? My name's Derek Randalls. I'm a consultant anaesthetist at University Hospital North Durham and clinical lead here at the Simulation Centre, which I have the good fortune of spending a lot of time with Craig.
Yeah, happy days. And Anne?
Hiya, I'm Anne. I'm one of the clinical educators on the foundation programme for the resident doctors. And I've just been roped in at last minute, so we was
going to have John and Shannon, but they have unfortunately found themselves busy, which means,
I've been drafted in as a last resort. Yes, how rude.
But now you've been classified as a human factors expert, so there we go. All right, so this is hopefully going to be our first of a series. Now, you guys might not be coming back for the next part. So you might not be here for the while, so you've got to make your big impact now. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about what is human factors. And now I know this is quite a broad topic and it might be different to everybody. So I'm going to start with that question. What is human factors to you?
Right, human factors, eh? Well, it gets very misconstrued, doesn't it, the term human factors? There's all kinds of ideas that come from it. To me, I think you've got to simplify it a little bit and say it's anything in this world that sets you up to succeed or fail. People think human factors, it's all about human error. Someone's made an error in the moment, haven't they? They've made a kibosh of something because whatever, they didn't think clearly or they had too many tasks on their plate, which obviously is part of it. But it's far more than that. It's not about the individual. It's about the whole world around them and what sets them up to succeed or fail. So if you put a brief example on that, most people listening to this have probably been to a petrol station, unless you're sensible enough to only ride a bike. But say you've got a car, you go to a petrol station, don't you? Now, the only thing that's stopping you putting diesel in your petrol car is the fact that one's green and one's black. Everything else, like you can quite happily get hold of the diesel pump, lob it in your petrol car. In fact, if we had, say, the falling hero of Geraint Thomas or Piers Morgan or something, then we'd probably have a few people who'd done that. But I don't think we're going to have a few 100,000, so maybe no one's here's put the wrong stuff in their car. But that's it, isn't it? The petrol station, this thing that everyone goes to every day, still sets you up to fail. The only reason people don't is because they're damn scared of doing it because it costs you a load of money and means you don't get to
it's an interesting experiment there. What would happen, do you think, if you just kept the names the same but swapped the colours?
Oh, it'd be a mess, wouldn't it?
Do you think people would still make that mistake?
I shouldn't laugh, should I?
Yeah. And what is it to you? What's human factors?
I was dreading this question, to be fair. I think for me, it's the unknown things that affect things. if you put it simply. Like, you don't know some of the things until you look retrospectively at what happened and think about, why did I make that decision? What was going on at that time? So it's a little bit of the unknown. That's what I think human factors
When did you first encounter human factors as a term?
When I started doing quite a lot of sim.
Yeah, because that was the same for me.
Yeah.
I might have heard about it and stuff, but I didn't really encounter it until I came into simulation.
Yeah, me
and then
too.
People was explaining it, and I was like, oh, and then you kind of mirror it a lot in your past, don't you? Like, oh yeah, I get it now. But
I think officially, if you like, in an academic teaching sort of sense, it was when I came to work with John and do a lot of simulation, firstly for undergrad students and then for the foundation resident doctors. And when he started talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, that really makes sense. But had never really labelled it as human factors.
You knew there was something there, you just didn't know what the title was of that,
yes.
what was happening.
Yeah. And I think that's when I paid more attention to it, and probably looked for it more, because I think it's an unseen thing. You don't realise it's happening until you look back at it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Is that the same for you, Des?
No, I mean, I've been in simulation for bits and bobs since about 2008, 2009, but we did a bit of research on human factors in 2008, but that was just looking at non-technical skills. So we were looking at integrating non-technical skills training into ILS training, and seeing if the people involved who got human non-technical skills training were faster at recognising rhythms, better at introducing CPR, all that kind of stuff, time to defibrillation. And we found, actually, not wanting to go into the research too much, that when you put non-technical skills training into ILS-ALS training, the performance, the individual and team performance are better. So that was pretty cool. But that's just non-technical skills. That's just a small part of what human factors is.
So these terms are often... Some people mistake them for the same thing.
Exactly.
But the way that I understand it is that human factors is the overarching umbrella, and non-technical skills is just a little part of human factors.
That's it. Yeah. So human factors isn't just did we communicate well? Did we prioritise tasks? Did we have good situational awareness? Did we make decisions well? That's a part of it, that human-human interaction. But it's, as you say, it's a small part of what's much wider. And as I was saying at the beginning, human factors is about everything in the world that sets us up to succeed or fail. It's much wider, and human factors is everywhere. You know, you look at, I don't know, you are going home from work and you look at the metro infrastructure and say no one's invested in that, made metro infrastructure work well. So you can call that the equipment, if you like. So metro breaks down again. You know, there'll be people on like, oh God, you're not kidding. Breaks down. You're there at Peelaw, and you've got to get home to Gateshead. So now you've got to schlep across and find yourself a bus. Why? Because the metro has hindered you. An hour and a half later, you get home having to find alternative systems to get you home. Next day, you're like absolutely knackered. Productivity is down. This is wide-ranging, isn't it? That's not just you on the metro. That's another 300 people.
Yeah.
So human factors is about the wider systems, the equipment, the environment, the personal human factors that in that case that had a knock-on effect to how you perform the following day. Everything is working together. So the following day, your productivity is down. You maybe you're knackered for the next week. Excuse me, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the podcast.
We'll bleep it out.
And so everything has played in this case, infrastructure. And you can imagine on So it's not just human factors on a micro level. It affects your tasks and performance day to day. You can also think of it as on a macro level, the external system. And, when you invest into systems on a macro level and your infrastructure's good as a whole, your performance booms, macroeconomics booms, your country performs, and people on an individual end fundamentally perform. I'm probably going too wide here. But do you see, so human factors affects everything from the petrol station to how your country runs as a whole. And so human factors and ergonomics are an interchangeable term. And if we thought about, on a wide level, human factors and ergonomics, everything would perform better. And then if you come back, say, just bring this in for a moment to the NHS, you think about your IT systems. That's human factors. That's a fundamental system. IT systems in the NHS. I don't think it's new that, as I say this, people will roll their eyes and go, oh God, yeah, again, second God of the session. Yeah. People, when your IT system doesn't work and your work laptop doesn't recognise you wait 15 minutes. Now you're not only competing with I've lost 15 minutes, but also you're frustrated, you're distracted, your focus on your performance is gone.
Yeah.
It's absolutely profound.
It is. Like I say, I like the analogy where human factors is the whole jigsaw, where actually these non-technical skills are just the little pieces that make up the big puzzle. So why then is, it's almost as Anne said, human factors is undiscovered until they come into simulation. So why is simulation such a good place to train human factors? Anybody? Go for it.
Did you say why is it?
Yes. Why is simulation built around human factors? Because it's always part of our objectives when we're creating scenarios. Why don't they just use PowerPoint or anything to teach them about human factors?
I think in simulation, you've got, we always say to the participants, it's a safe environment where you're in a supported environment to look at what you've done, how you've done it, why were you thinking that at that time, why did you make that decision at that time, and really look retrospectively. Sometimes in real life things have been and gone and you don't stop to think about that. So it's a good teaching method to be able to have some control around it and the faculty steer it so that you can look at things that have influenced you in a safe environment and then unpick it. So when you ask things like, so what did you think about that? And that horrible pause and silence that we all hate.
The awkwardness.
Yeah. And obviously when the people that are in scenario are talking about it and then you open it up, so what were you guys thinking at that time? It just makes you look at it from a different perspective. It's not necessarily about managing the MI and getting the right treatment at the right time. What prevented that? What helped that? What was good about it? What slowed it down? Those are the things that you don't always get chance to think about. So I think sim is a safe place to do that.
So am I right thinking that the airline industry kind of coined the concept of human factors? Or was it, because I know it's a lot to do with high performing industries, as you've said, like Formula One have a big imprint on human factors and stuff. But was it the airline industries that first came up with this kind of concept?
Yeah, both in terms of human factors and non-technical skills. Now, remember, non-technical skills sits within human factors, this small circle in your big Venn diagram for the maths bods amongst us. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to think about it. The airline industry are very visible, aren't they? The commercial aviation industry. And they've got planes that depending on their systems, their equipment being faultless, their environment being pristine and functioning well for the human, their cockpits set out in a way so the pilot can't pull the wrong lever at the wrong time. Because you've got a very front page, disaster on every tabloid that you like. They had to get it right from the start because the stakes were high for them, you know. A couple of failures and they're out of business. So they looked at this, and they also then in the 80s, when a couple of planes did, you know, fall out of the sky, Kegworth, where they shut off the wrong engine, and they shut off the wrong engine at Kegworth and ditched to East Midlands Airport because communication went wrong, and the right engine was on fire, and miscommunication, and the pilot shut off the left engine. So they looked at this and all these black boxes, and they said, well, why are things going wrong? And they worked out the reason things were going wrong was because of the non-technical skills. It wasn't failure of knowledge, it was failure of communication, task allocation, prioritization, situational awareness, all that stuff. And so airline industry, after recurrent black box investigations, said, we've got to get this right. So they came up with non-technical skills systems. And then other industries, notably healthcare, after about 15 or 20 years in the early 2000s, said, we got to get onto this. Ours is a time-critical, safety-critical, sharp-end industry. We need to train in non-technical skills. But we had a massive lag by the airline industry for that reason. What's really interesting about this is that our healthcare is much more tricky than the commercial aviation industry. It's tricky, isn't it?
Well, you kind of picked my mind, because that was going to be my next question, is that theirs is almost quite predictable.
Yeah.
Where ours is a lot more chaotic, because there's more. It's weird, because you wouldn't think that the healthcare service has more cogs and more complications, because, you know, we're people. But, you know, you're dealing with relatives, you're dealing with people who are busy, you know. Well, actually theirs is mostly machinery. I say mostly, but you do have an element of like air traffic control and the co-pilots, that kind of stuff. But it does feel like it's a lot more complex. Is that why I want to say that the airline industry have almost got nailed, and then the healthcare service is still some way to go?
Well, you look at a commercial aeroplane, you can get it flies itself, doesn't it? It can take off itself.
Well, I think we're in that age where, you know, we can do that. I don't know if we're ready for having unmanned aeroplanes, but I feel like drones and stuff have been unmanned for a long time.
Well, I spoke to a mate of mine who is a captain on Emirates, and he said, I said, why have you still got pilots? Because take off, land, etc. You know, an engine fails. It's just a protocol, isn't it?
Just buttons, and you can probably do that remotely.
Yeah, totally. And he said, because the passengers aren't ready. You wouldn't get on a plane with no pilot, would you?
No, I've heard of taxis and stuff in London doing these kind of experiments, but I feel like maybe trains are a safe place to start first, unmanned trains.
Really?
Well, even then, yeah.
I don't know.
But still, I mean, come on, if anything's more controlled, it's on rails, you know, it can't go too far astray.
Yeah, you got buffers at the end of the line.
Yeah, but I feel that's maybe a little bit more of a step before going straight into an unmanned aeroplane. But sorry, Dad, interrupt.
That is good. Yeah. So, where are we up to on that?
So we're just talking about, you had a friend who's saying, you know, are people ready for it?
We're not ready for that. But you see, for all the people in the healthcare industry who are listening to this and go, God, I'm going to be overtaken by AI. You know, if you get a pilot to man a plane, are they going to take my job? And in the health industry, you're safe. Of all places, you're safe. AI will make our jobs better, more automated, safer, but you still need the staff.
So then, if I read you right, human factors, with the title, it implies that, you know, humans are the tricky part of human factors. Are we saying if we replace humans with machine or AI, human factors risks go down, or would they go up?
Right, you've come to the nub of it there, haven't you, Craig? People have classically thought about human factors. Humans making mistakes. You know, the healthcare is complex, it's tricky, it's challenging. The humans are making mistakes. So this is a complete misconception, you know. And if, for people listening, if they want to look at Sidney Decker's work, he talks about this extensively, and humans have been thought of classically as the bad apples. The fact is, in complex systems, the human in the system is what's making the system safe. You look at, I don't know, A&E at UHND, they're seeing 350 patients come through there each day. Each patient sees multiple people in that A&E team. And then maybe they see the radiology team and they have their systems to get x-rays, CT scans, whatever. Then they go up to the ward and they see all the surgical teams and the physio and the OTs and the dietitian, the pharmacist, all this. Maybe then they go to theatre, picking up those slips and lapses and things that could go wrong. It's the human in the system, make it right. No machine's going to do that. AI cannot do that. You know, so when people sometimes think, don't they, that, you know, oh, healthcare system, oh, you know, we're no good, you know, all these errors happen. And people can get quite down at heel about that. You speak to people from other industries, petrochemical industry, nuclear power, airline, air traffic control. They're going, my God, you guys are brilliant. Our systems are predictable. You're trying to spin all these plates and you basically nail it. You guys are awesome. And I think that's the message to take away. When we think about human factors, we should be thinking about building systems to optimize the individual, the equipment, the environment. You know, when you build a hospital, when you build a new place, you've got to build it with an ergonomist, and the people are going to use the system saying, yeah, that's the lighting I need. This is the quiet environment I'm going to need to optimize my performance. This is the layout we want so that we can see our patients, so that we can run things effectively. Set us up to succeed and we will absolutely nail it for you, because we're already picking up 99% of places where things could go wrong. Just set us up to get the 100.
Yeah, because it's called human factors, I feel it's like a little bit of a branding issue there, isn't there? Because people hear human and that's all they pick up on. And they think, oh, human, it must be the human that makes mistakes. Sometimes it almost feels like when you talk about human factors, it's always the negative part. And people think, oh, some guy's made a mistake somewhere down the line, some human has. Okay, I want you to play just a quick 2-minute clip. You might have heard it before, especially if you've seen the film Sully. But this is a black box recording of a pilot that lands the plane on the Hudson.
Cactus 1539 hit birds, so you've lost thrust on both engines, returning back towards LaGuardia.
Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia. Turn left heading up 220.
220.
Tower, stop your departures. Got emergency returning. It's 1529. He bird strike. He lost all engine. He lost the thrust in the engines. He's returning immediately.
Cactus 1529. Which engines?
He lost thrust in both engines, he said.
Got it.
Cactus 1529. We can get it for you. Do you want to try to land runway 13?
We're unable. We may end up in the Hudson.
All right, Cactus 1549. It's going to be left traffic to runway 31.
Unable.
Okay, what do you need to land? Cactus 1549. Runway 4 is available if you want to make left traffic to runway 4.
I'm not sure we can make any runway. What's over to our right? Anything in New Jersey? Maybe Teterboro?
Okay, yeah, off your right side is Teterboro Airport. Do you want to try to go to Teterboro?
Yes.
Teterboro, Empire, actually, LaGuardia departure guy, emergency inbound.
Hey, guys.
Cactus 1529 over the George Washington Bridge, wants to go to your airport right now.
Going to our airport. Check. Does he need assistance?
Yes, it was a bird strike. Can I get him in for runway 1?
Runway 1, that's good.
Cactus 1529, turn right 280, you can land runway 1 at Teterboro.
We can't do it.
Okay, which runway would you like at Teterboro?
We're going to be in the Hudson.
I'm sorry, say again, Cactus? Cactus 1549, radar contact is lost. You also got Newark Airport up at 2 o'clock in about 7 miles. Eagle 54718, turn left heading 210.
210, 4718. I think he said he was going in the Hudson.
All right. So just to recap on kind of what happened, pilot takes off from LaGuardia, was it? And then he has a bird strike, but the bird strike is in both engines. He has a plane full of 200 people on board. He has a co-pilot. He's obviously talking to air traffic control. It sounds like air traffic control are not completely aware of the severity at that stage. Am I right thinking that they They don't really understand what's going on. What's your interpretation of what you just heard?
I haven't seen the movie.
You've
I
not
need to
seen
see
it?
the movie. It sounds good.
Oh, it is.
What is it called again?
So it's called Sully. So this is played by Tom Hanks, and it's a true story. Essentially, he has a hearing at the end of the ordeal.
Yeah.
And what they do is, as part of the hearing, they run simulations. Now, these simulations are run in different places in the country by different pilots in the same situation. But what they don't take into account for it is the pressure of having all these lives on his shoulders. And remember that these pilots, it turns out that these pilots have practiced doing it in a simulator. And eventually they prove that actually they can. What they think they've proved that they can eventually turn to the airport and land it safely. So this is what the hearing's about. But what they don't take into consideration is the human factors that the pilot had to make. He had no practice. He went through an event that has never happened before, a bird strike into both engines. And what they also didn't incorporate was thinking time, because what happens in the simulation is the bird strike happens in the simulators, they turn straight away and go land in the airport. What they didn't check was to go through their book. They had to open a book, go through the manual, go, have you turned the engines off? Have you rebooted this, X, Y, and Z? And that takes a minute and a half. And eventually what happens is that the pilots who run the simulations, they eventually crash every time that they try to go to the airport. And that eventually did make the right decision. But what do you think was running through the pilots' minds as he's just had these bird strikes?
Can I say that?
Yeah.
You could actually feel the sense of urgency. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that.
No.
You could feel that in his. It was coming across in the tone of his voice, I thought. Although it was calmness.
It was though, wasn't it? What was notable is that tone when he said, "Do you want to do that? Do you want to run a run?" Yes. But there was a measured. There wasn't a shake of a voice. That was measured. The equipment had completely failed him. The system was failing him, wasn't it? Go to runway 1. We think you've got time to that. No. But this calm, measured human being made a decision in the midst of a whole host of adverse human factors. Phenomenal. Why? Training. You know, what they do, what pilots do is they train, they're in a simulator at least 3 times a year. You know, airline simulators, they can be at 3 a.m. on Boxing Day, 3 a.m. Christmas Day. They can be in there 3 a.m. Boxing Day, 3 a.m. Christmas Day, whatever. They are drilling all the time for this stuff. What you can't do is say, at that point, in the air, birds are going to take out both of my engines. Although it's bird strike, by the way. It's like the plane struck the bird. The birds didn't strike the plane.
Birds.
But, you know, everyone forgets the bird casualty in
What
this.
about their bird factors?
Yeah. So, you know, what happened there was just quintessential, the fact it wasn't the human failing the system. The system failed the human took it on and got a brilliant outcome. AI might have achieved that because the decision-making would be instantaneous.
Yeah.
That's a dynamically changing, very unpredictable situation. AI needs to learn. You know, you look up, you Google stuff on your phone now and you get some AI answer. And if you're an expert in the field, you look at the answer and you go, what a complete rubbish.
Yeah.
Look at the medical thing on there.
Well, actually, if you've seen the film I, Robot, all right, with Will Smith, all right.
Nice.
The situation is that Will Smith's in a car with his family. They crash, all right. The woman escapes, I think, but Will Smith, the dad, and the child is in the car. The robot jumps in to save them. What the robot does is the robot saves the adult because the robot thinks that the adult has got a higher percentage chance of survival rather than saving the child. Now, if most people dived in and were faced with that situation, most people would have dragged the child out even knowing that, would they have considered the percentage of survival, or would they have gone with their emotions and actually say, I prefer to save the child?
Emotional would have to come into play.
Yeah, we do. We have emotions, don't we? And it sometimes affects our decision making.
Did the robot not think, well, if the adult's got a 50% chance of survival and the child's got 25% chance of survival, but the child's got potentially 5 times as much lifespan to live, maths, Quali's gain should have saved the child.
But remember that at the back of all this AI talk is that humans have to put these algorithms into place anyway, don't they? So it's the humans actually that is programming AI. So sometimes we forget that AI isn't just making itself. Humans are making AI to help humans. So is it AI's fault, or is it the humans' fault that programmed the AI?
They had that, didn't they? They're looking at these automated cars, programming them on the road. And if the car was going to hit a bus and potentially injure 80 people, or drive it and take its driver off the road and off a bridge and all, inevitable certain death, your car would drive you off a bridge.
Yeah.
They thought it was a glitch in the system. I don't think they'd get past it.
Yeah, it's the world that we live in. And, AI is coming, if we like it or not. But, it's how we do it safely, I think. Okay, as I knew, our time is almost up. We did not meet your 10-minute quota, Des, I'm sorry to say.
Disappointing.
Yes.
But got places to be.
That wraps up our Human Factors What Is. I'll tell you what we'll do. Before we leave, we'll give you the last word, Des, of, what is Human Factors and of what we've discussed. How would you summarise it?
God, right.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because as we said...
sentence. I mean, hopefully we're hearing that it's, in this world, it's all the things around us that set the human, the team up to succeed or fail. So if it's the systems around you, the equipment, the environment, the personal stuff, the human interaction and non-technical skills, if you lump all these things up together, it's what sets you up to succeed or fail. And it's not just in your workplace, it's not in your hospital, it's not just in your GP practice, it's in your home, it's at the traffic lights.
I've got to say, I do sometimes mirror it to my life. When I hear the missus having an argument with the teachers or something.
Is this common?
Well, she comes back and says, God, the teacher, why don't they focus more on my one child? And I'm like, well, because you don't understand all the elements that she's dealing with. 29 other children, she's got X, Y, and Z pressures on. But sometimes, before I came and worked at the simulation centre, I didn't really understand, and I didn't really think about, those kind of elements that sometimes it makes you understand a little bit more when you think about it.
But that is a system, isn't it? That's a fantastic example of a system that has huge ramifications for the future. Why on earth would you have a class with one person managing 35 unpredictable individuals? No disrespect to children, of course. Why would you do that? Because this is it. The investment's priceless. Gets you thinking, no, it's human factors.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, firstly, thank you very much for coming along. I know we could speak, but we don't want to go back into more human factors. What we'll do is we'll look forward to the next episode, which is going to be why human factors? Maybe. So if you're listening to this podcast and you'd like to come on as another guest, please get in touch with the contact information in the description. But apart from that, thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
And that wraps up the first episode of our mini-series on human factors here on the SimTech podcast. A huge thank you to Des and Anne for sharing their experiences and laying the groundwork for what promises to be a fascinating series. We've only just scratched the surface, so make sure to subscribe or follow the podcast so you don't miss out on the next episode, where we'll dive deeper into how human factors show up in clinical environments and how the simulation can help make them visible. If you've got questions, ideas, or you want to be part of the conversation, please get in touch because we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the SimTech podcast.